If you're struggling with allowing others to control your emotions, especially in difficult conversations, then this video is for you. If you stay in this video, I'll give you some tips on how to handle those emotions, and if you stay to the end, I'll tell you how to take back control. So let's start with the first and most important thing you can do to take back control, and that is conduct a self-audit. Specifically, when you're entering a challenging conversation with someone who you know tends to bring out negative or destructive emotions in you, before you enter into that conversation, spend some time thinking about what are the moves that they often make that get you riled up. What are the kinds of things that they typically say? I would even suggest that you might write them out. Now, this may feel unpleasant to you, but the reason for taking the self-audit is the more you can explore the terrain before you're in the terrain of the conversation, the better it is for you to be able to monitor and be aware of those emotions and come up with a different way of moving forward. So let me give you an example of how conducting a self-audit can make a difference. As a Roman Catholic, and some of you know I'm Roman Catholic, I'm quite prone to guilt. And when people make me feel guilty, it brings out a whole bunch of other unproductive emotions. My mom is, I think, aware of this. And some years ago, on her birthday, so she lives about 4 hours from where I live, and I never forget her birthday. In this particular year, I had sent her a very nice bouquet of flowers, and I called her up, but you never really know how things are going to go with her. And so she said, "Oh, honey, I love the flowers. They are so beautiful." And then she said, "But there's just one thing." And I said, "Well, what is that?" And she's like, "Well, I didn't get your card yet." Now, turns out I had not sent her a card, but because I had spent some time before I called her, making myself aware that one never knows if the guilt trigger might be played here, I was able to say, "You know, I didn't send you a card. I'm so glad you like the flowers, and when I come home at Thanksgiving time, we can celebrate more," right? We were able to move on. But spending that advanced time thinking about what are the things that might come up that might cause an unproductive emotional response in me helped me come up with a better response in the moment it was being used. The second thing you want to think about once you've done this self-audit is what is the quality of the relationship you have with this person? So specifically, is there a level of trust and is there a level of goodwill that you might have with the other person? Depending on your answer to that, there's two different directions you might go. If this is someone with whom you actually have a degree of trust and maybe a long-standing relationship, it's just that this dynamic is very unproductive, then I would invite you to consider the possibility of initiating a specific difficult conversation, not about whatever is bringing up the control of emotions, but rather literally about the fact that they bring up things in a way that causes strong emotions in you. So I'll give you an example. I was working with a client some years ago, and it was a very complicated family situation. This woman had been caring for her ailing mother and also her younger brother, who had a series of real personal challenges related to physical health and then some substance abuse issues. And there was a moment where the mother was needed to be moved to assisted care, and the younger brother presumed that this sister would pay 100% of the bill for the mother in assisted living. And part of the dynamic here is that apparently every single time the sister ever suggested to the brother that he should pay either for some of his own care or for the mother's care, it turned into a yelling fest where the brother went on and on about how irresponsible and selfish she was, and it was pretty destructive. But through a series of coaching, what I learned was that, in fact, despite this destructive part of their relationship, overall, the woman cared for and trusted her brother. And so we were able to plan a conversation where what she talked about was the feelings that came up for her whenever this particular dynamic was triggered. And she initiated the conversation not in reaction to a particular moment, but on its own merits. And it was a transformative conversation, a hard conversation. But the brother, who really did care for his sister, never realized that he caused such destructive emotions when he brought this up. And so you may consider, in a situation where there's a moderately good relationship and some level of trust, actually initiating a conversation about this dynamic. But let's imagine you have the other situation. This is somebody who often says things that bring up a whole bunch of strong and negative emotions, but you don't really trust them. You think they're really manipulative. In fact, you think they're doing this is quite intentionally strategic. In that case, it's really important that you have a different kind of conversation with them, not where you're making yourself more vulnerable by actually sharing the emotions, but rather where you're establishing very clear boundaries about the terms under which you will engage with them. So it's not shutting them down entirely, but it's saying, if we're going to continue engaging, then I will do so under these terms. One way of naming this, right, or one way of calling this is what we call naming the game. This is the dynamic I'm observing, and it's unacceptable to me. I want to find a way to engage with you, but it has to be different. Lastly, well, what if this doesn't work either? Then you have to be willing to walk away. And you should do that without feeling bad, without feeling in any way that you've been irresponsible, but as an act of self-care to say, I deserve more respect than this, and my emotional interests are not being met by continued engagement with you. And when you make that decision, if the person on the other side really wants to engage with you, they'll come back and apologize. And otherwise, as hard as walking away might be, you've made a step forward in terms of your own assertiveness, your own ability to take charge, not only of your substantive interests, but also of your emotional interests and your mental health interests as well. To recap, first, you want to take an emotional audit where you really lay out what are the kinds of feelings that come up when this person is in a difficult conversation with you, what are the moves that they make, and how can you do something differently. Secondly, assess the relationship. If there is some feeling of trust and goodwill, consider initiating a difficult conversation where you share what happens and the feelings that come up for you when this dynamic is triggered. If there isn't goodwill or trust, don't make yourself over vulnerable. Instead, set very clear boundaries about what is and isn't okay. And finally, be okay to walk away. If you want to learn more about difficult conversations or about negotiation generally, please check out the courses I offer at the CambridgeNegotiationInstitute.com, and be sure to watch this next video, which is teaching you how to have a difficult conversation with your boss. I'm Bob Bordone, and thanks for negotiating together. Okay, you know you need to have that difficult conversation with your boss. Keep watching.